My daughter is 5. She can't fully read yet, but she can have already conversations with the internet like a little pro. One morning, I walked into the kitchen and she was talking to the screen. Hey, can you show me the best of the bestest craft videos in the whole wide world, please? And the screen obliged. It responded with a list of perfectly sequenced videos, selected just for her, just to hold her attention. And then I realized, in that moment, my daughter wasn't searching the internet. She was asking a question, and the internet was magically responding with an answer. Today, I'm not here to talk about banning screens. Today, this talk is about awareness and about what's quietly happening behind our screens without most of us realizing, and why that matters for our families and, well, for all of us. When you open your favorite social media, what happens? The platform starts recording everything you do. Every click, every like, every action. It keeps it as a signal. And so far, well, most of us know that that is the case. But other things are happening that maybe aren't so obvious. It records how fast we scroll, how long we stay on the platform, how fast we type, who we engage with. All of these are treated as signals, and they're compared to what we've done before. And then the platform also compares this behavior to what millions of other profiles of people like us are doing. To do what? To decide what to show us next. One of the strongest signals we can give these platforms is completing a video. If we watch a video to the end, well, the platform thinks, ooh, she likes that, so let me show her more of that, because it wants to hold me there. And what happens next, it's quite, well, extraordinary. It doesn't just show you one more video, or maybe 2, that are similar to what you've just watched. It tries to fill all of the available feed slots right after with content that relates to that video. This is why, when we watch a cooking show, our entire feed becomes about cooking. Back when I started working in tech, many years ago, the internet behaved in a very different way. Information was organized based on what it said, not how long you stayed. Today, things work very differently. Something has quietly changed. Enter our friendly neighborhood AI. Artificial intelligence has come into play most recently to help these platforms do 2 main things. Firstly, to optimize what we see next, meaning it makes the platforms more intelligent. Secondly, well, it gives us answers. So the web has quietly moved away from being an information repository to one big persuasion engine, geared to tell us what we're going to see and read next. Back in the early 2000s, when I worked at Yahoo, search behaved in a very different way. You went onto the search engine and you searched, well, you looked for something, and it replied with a list of links. And then you decided which one to read, and perhaps you went on to read something else. Well, today, the internet behaves very differently. When you search, Firstly, it tries to tell you what question you're asking by trying to complete it. Then it gives you, well, a list of questions that other people like you have also asked. And finally, it tries to answer the question. In fact, increasingly, it gives you the answer. Did you know that 60% of online searches today end without a click? Before we look at the options, before we read, before we explore, before we study, before we compare, the internet has already given us an answer. And when comparison weakens, so does critical judgment. And this is happening across the entire web. Our news feeds are operated by platforms powered by artificial intelligence. Our commerce feeds, where we shop, are doing the same. Our playlists, where we look for travel, entertainment, everything online today, mostly everything, is geared towards telling us what comes next. So, if the internet is telling us what comes next, that makes us inputs. It loves our inputs. And that means we are not powerless. We can decide what inputs to give to the system. So back home with my daughter, we've started doing something very simple that we call Feed the Hungry Feed. Essentially, it means give the internet, whatever internet you're using, whichever environment you're in, give it signals that are based on what you want to see more of, and starve it of what you don't want to see. Be aware, be conscious. So I'll give you some examples. The internet loves choosing what to show us next. So why does it do that? Because the more we stay, the more money it makes. So at home, before we pick up our tablets or any device, we ask one simple question: what are we going to watch today? We never start from the homepage. The systems love to keep us there. Why? Because by keeping us there, well, they can make more money. So back home, we turn autoplay off. When the content ends, it ends. And finally, well, the systems love more signals. And so when we're home, unsupervised watch time is offline. We turn the Wi-Fi off. These simple actions enable us to be more conscious and more aware when we're using these very powerful devices. And things like this can be applied to most of the environments where we scroll and watch today. And one thing happened, quite subtle, but I think as a parent very important. My daughter started getting very bored of the screen. Imagine that, bored. She started coming back to me with more questions and more, hey, Mum, I'm really bored. Can we make a house for my baby brontosaurus, please? And that makes me very happy. I didn't change her, and I didn't ban the screen. We know how hard it is these days to do that. What I did is I simply changed what the platforms were allowed to rehearse in our own home. So, if the internet decides what we see next, our choice comes too late. My daughter thinks the internet is a superhero, quite magic. But, well, superheroes work in the open. This one doesn't. So my ask is simple. Don't sleepwalk through curated reality. The internet is already deciding what to show us next. The only question left is, are we choosing back? Thank you.